One of my favorite directors is dipping his toes into psychological horror. Is there anything Edgar Wright can't do? How's it going, guys? My name is Zack. I love discussing all things cinema and entertainment. I really do appreciate you guys clicking on this thumbnail today, and I really sincerely do hope you enjoy your stay. Because this time around, we are looking at Last Night in Soho, the single most anticipated movie of the year for a lot of my fellow cinephiles on this very medium. It's written and directed by the genius himself, Edgar Wright, and it stars the likes of Thomasin, McKenzie, and Anya Taylor-Joy. Thomasin McKenzie plays Ellie, an aspiring fashion designer who is mysteriously able to enter the 1960s, where she encounters a dazzling wannabe singer named Sandy, played by Anya Taylor-Joy. But the glamour is not all it appears to be, and the dreams of the past start to crack and splinter into something far, far darker. Day one, anytime a new Edgar Wright film hits the theater, I am typically the first in line to buy a ticket. This guy is legitimately one of my all-time favorite directors, as I've alluded to already. He brings such a different and energetic style into his films. The way he directs his films makes even the simplest of his narratives feel so fast-paced. Now, you could look at a movie like Shaun of the Dead, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, A Baby Driver, all films that I love. You could just look at any one of his movies just based on the editing alone, and you would not need credits to tell you who did the film. Edgar Wright has that distinct of an imprint on the industry right now. I love his style. Last Night in Soho definitely carries some of those Edgar Wright-isms. The first act specifically is technically cinematic perfection. I'm talking about the fast-paced editing, the production design, the costumes, the fashion. It's all there. I was getting so wrapped up in this world. Not to mention the soundtrack. Like, don't even get me started, guys. This soundtrack almost feels like a character of its own, and I mean that in the best way. The soundtrack never overstays its welcome like it does in a movie like Cruella, for example, and it thereby adds so much more to the movie itself. It was so amazing. It really did remind me a lot of Baby Driver, and if you're a big fan of that movie like I am, you're gonna fall in love with this movie, and specifically the song choices. All this technical brilliance makes this movie feel so old-fashioned, almost like you were teleported back to the 1960s in a similar fashion our hero was. Now, while I'm on that topic, I gotta talk about Thomasin McKenzie a little bit. She was my favorite part about M. Night Shyamalan's Old, which came out last summer, and I figured even watching Old that she was gonna be a star on the rise. But with her performance in this movie, she may have just cemented her status as one of my favorite actresses working right now. I adored her in this film. This is 150,000% her story. We empathize with everything she's enduring, we're rooting for her, and this screenplay only helps this character along with a perfect arc. There is such a drastic shift in her character, who goes through a lot, and the circumstances which exist for her at the end are dramatically different than those we saw when we were introduced to her character, with one of my favorite opening title sequences of the year, might I add. Only as Edgar Wright can. Seriously though, guys, this performance checked every single box for me. Thomasin McKenzie may have just turned in my favorite performance by a leading actress all year long. I'm really keeping my fingers crossed that the Academy will at least recognize her in some facet, with a nomination at the very least. Same thing with Anya Taylor-Joy, who's really stealing the show in a lot of these films lately, isn't she? Like, watch her in this film. She continues to eat up every moment of the spotlight she has in this one. She plays an aspiring singer Ellie meets along her journey, and don't worry, no spoilers from me, but this whole dynamic was something that shocked me in the best conceivable way. This is coming from someone who didn't watch a single trailer. I had no idea what their relationship was actually gonna be like walking in, and their scenes together left me riveted every step of the way. In the best way, Last Night in Soho absolutely shocked me. I had no idea the content was gonna be what it actually was, and it just has so much energy and love put into it that I could not take my eyes off the screen at any moment. Maybe that has to do with the fact that the movie was emblazoned with neon colors written all over it. It is one of the more colorful looking movies of the year, not made by Disney, that's for sure. I will admit though, guys, even though this is clearly top tier cinema in 2021 for me, this is a movie that does have some issues. And that mainly has to do with the pacing in between acts, which felt a little bit uneven to me. And not to say I'm necessarily surprised by this, Baby Driver suffers from the same problem, literally step by step. The first act, as I've mentioned, is filmmaking dynamite, but then the second act really slows down considerably, so much so that by the time it gets to a jam-packed third act, it just feels a little bit too clunky. Don't get me wrong, I love the reveals and the twists and the turns. It's all brilliantly realized and expertly written, but all of these reveals are left over for like, I don't know, the last 20 minutes of this film, and I really wish that there was a little bit more time allotted for the audience to really digest all these bombshells that Edgar Wright was dropping on us. Even though this is an ending that really places a lot of trust in its audience, I never felt like I had my intelligence insulted watching this. I would have definitely preferred all of these twists to be a little bit more spread out than they actually were. But besides that, my friends, I'm so happy that this movie was as good as it was. Edgar Wright has still got it, my friends. This is one of my personal favorite movies of the year so far. I'm gonna give Last Night in Soho an A. This is an Edgar Wright movie, so this especially goes out to my fellow cinephiles watching this. Please, please, I urge you guys, go see this in the movie theater. Please go and support this film. It definitely deserves it. My theater was not very full last night seeing this movie, and the pandemic may have played a part in this, and call it bias for Edgar Wright all you want, but I feel like this movie deserves all the support that it can get. I'm gonna challenge you guys, let's try not to turn this into another Last Duel and let it tank at the box office. Because Last Night in Soho really is one of the most fun and unique films you will get to experience all year. But this is all, of course, just my opinion. Have you guys seen Last Night in Soho? Did you love it as much as I did? Did you kind of dislike it? Feel free to sound off as much as you like down in the comments with all of your thoughts on Last Night in Soho. And also, feel free to let me know what your favorite Edgar Wright film is so far. Is it Shaun of the Dead? Is it Baby Driver? But as you guys know, I love creating this content. I love discussing all new things, movies, and entertainment. And if these sound like topics you're interested in discussing along with me, then if I were you, I would consider hitting that subscribe button down below as hard as you possibly can. It's absolutely 100% free to all of you guys. And this is also really beneficial in helping get this content out there to more people. This channel is on the road to 1,000 subscribers as well. Hopefully you can help me reach this number very soon. And also, if you enjoyed the review, be sure to hit that thumbs up button, smash it as hard as you possibly can on your way out. It also really helps get this content out there. But as always, guys, stay tuned for more exciting content hitting this channel very soon. I'm wrapping up the Halloween playlist this weekend with John Carpenter's original classic. And just a bit of a side note, my movie reviews might come out this week a little bit more slowly than usual because I will be opening up a show where I am. But I'm definitely looking at checking out The French Dispatch because my local theater just put it up, along with The Harder They Fall, which is hitting Netflix. And of course, don't forget about Eternals, the newest MCU installment. But I'm certainly looking forward to discussing all these fun new movies with you guys and much more through the month of November and beyond. With all that being said, back talk, commence.